Hi, it's Michelle with Pickle Hill Design, and today I'd like to go through the process of making this tiny folio. I do have the flip-through video available on my YouTube channel, and what I'll do today is just get started. What I have made this folio from is a homemade template, which I designed in Photoshop, basically from a very large folio, a Tim Holtz folio. I took the basic mechanics of it and made it smaller and added some features. So the template looks like this. Here's one page. These are the pages and the tiny ephemera that I use. The outside of the folio template looks like this. And on the back, this is the inside, and this would be the outside, basically. And so what I did first is cut up all the pieces. All the components are cut up, and they are inked as necessary, and I've also folded them along lines that they would be folded. So I'll just take the outside, and I have trimmed everything very carefully, very precisely with my X-Acto knife, my favorite tool ever, and this metal ruler. So very precisely have cut everything. So we'll start over here on the little folio part. These are the, I don't know what to call them. They're the little dividers that will hold the pages for the folio. So I will take my glue, it's just PVA glue, and I have folded accordion style both of the edges, both of the flaps on the sides, in, out, in, out, in, out, also very precisely. And so what I'll do is glue very slightly right here on the first fold and right here, and we will use one of the pages. Doesn't really matter. We're just making sure that it is flush with the bottom line and in between both of them, so that the outside edges are still flush with what will be the outside of the little folder. So there's one page, and we'll fold in the next fold with a little line of glue and another page, another divider piece, flush with the bottom, and making sure that the sides, top and bottom, stay flush with the edges so that they don't stick beyond the cover sheet. One more page. A bead of glue. Flush with the bottom, and making sure that the sides are also flush. So now I have already folded the end very precisely on the lines that I have created. And I will now run a bead of glue here and close the file folder area. Okay, I will move to the next little section, little panel of my folio, which has this little envelope, this little pocket on the front, and it has just 2 flaps which I have folded in. On each side. And I will glue those both down with a bead of glue. And on the back of this panel will be a double pocket. And so I have a flap that I will fold down, a flap on this side that I will fold in, and it will constitute the back of both of the pockets, which there will be one on the bottom. And then this one will be a separate pocket for a separate piece of ephemera. So I will glue right here and fold down, and then I will glue this whole pocket back and a bead of glue here and fold it down. Flush with the bottom. And on this page I have, I don't have a different month, so I just reprinted May, and I will put it, just glue the top, very top of this strip, and it will be like a little calendar with 2 Mays in a row, but you won't notice because the May will be glued on. So I hope I haven't ruined the mystique for you, but there it looks like a little calendar. And what goes in this bottom tuck spot pocket is an extremely cute set of cards. And they go inside of a tiny envelope. Okay, I've set it aside. So on my template it looks like this, with the other side having the inside printed on just one portion of it. And I had a cutting board accident, but don't look at that. Don't look at that. So I bent in the flaps and I cut out this part of this front section of the envelope so that it could have things inserted into it. So I will run a bead of glue here and a bead of glue here to make a closable envelope that can contain cards. Tiny, tiny cards. Okay, and the top pocket contains something which I'll have to cheat and look at because I do not remember what's in here. I have a feeling I know. Okay. Okay. So I have an envelope, front and back. This is an envelope from my personal collection of old, very old envelopes. And I've cut out flaps And I've left the edges because I'd like to put it together and then tear them off so that they're symmetrical in being torn. And I inked in the inside so that when you peek in, it's not just bright white. So I will just glue along these tabs. And then rip for a very genuine looking rip hole. And let that dry for a millisecond, I guess, while this is not the one, this is the one. So it's got little lines on the back, and it is a invoice or receipt from 1890 something or early 1900s. I can't remember, and I can't see. So I like for the words to show. Bye bye. And that goes in there. Cute as pie. Okay, next panel right here. Just gets folded right over and glued. Bead of glue on the tab and fold it down. So really the hardest part of making this is the cutting, is the careful cutting that I spared you watching. And so inside this pocket we can put some pretty things. One, two, three, and these all have types of backing paper as well. Whoopsie. Sorry if I didn't let you see what I've been doing that whole time. Here we go. We're going to try not to do that anymore. Okay, so in this pocket, I have another little receipt, so darn cute. And here, we still have to make this envelope looking pocket with 2 beads of glue on the flaps, and then fold it up. And this just comes down and is a very photorealistic looking latch. And I have a butterfly to keep it tucked into. And so we will just very carefully, oops, I don't need that much glue. And glue it to where it will tuck into. Okay, and on the inside of that, I believe I had this extremely cute tiny invoice. Okie doke. Moving right along. So here's the top flap of the main body, and I have these images on the outside, and I will glue the flaps and make a pocket for the top. Oh, that's totally wrong. Don't do that. wrong. Glue goes on the outside. Silly goose. Okay, and using this line as a guide, we can fold down to meet it so that it's nice and straight and even, and so that when we fold it over again, it will not be too far down to impinge on this fold here. So I have already folded this fold, this fold, this fold, and now we're in the envelope. The envelope, and I have in this one this receipt, which I'll have to look for. Is it you? It is you, but I think it was too wide. Nope, it's perfect. So I know it goes all the way in. Goes all the way in, and so I will fold it where I know that it needs to stick out a little bit to be retrievable in the future. So there's that one. And on the bottom, we'll look, see what I have in this one, and I have to use my right hand. And it is this item. So we'll make the envelope first, which we will fold in the tabs, and I have folded over the end tab, this crease very carefully, and this crease very carefully, and the two that make the folio folds for the main body. And so we will glue these flaps, not on the wrong side, on the correct side, and fold up to the line. And I'm going to trim this because it is ever so slightly too wide. Now it will fit perfectly. Okay. Whoopsie. So I will now, I think I'll do this inside part. This pretty picture is going to get covered, but that's okay. There's lots of other pretty pictures involved here. So I have from my pages page template, I'm going to start with this one, and I've cut it out, and then I just fold it along the lines, and these will all get glued back to back to back so that they just open. This first one is a pocket, which I have folded over the flaps, and I will show you how to glue. I glue that onto the other strip of pages from that template, and also have been folded over for extreme accuracy on this side, so it's completely flat and even, and they will stack together and form a little book that goes in the back of the folio body. So I can glue these flaps that I've bent over, I will glue onto what will be an envelope, basically, or a pocket with a flap. Tiny bead of glue. And so just make sure it's nice and straight before it completely dries. And there's your little pocket in the front. And like I said, the rest of these will get glued together, which is a very simple process of a little bit of glue. They just have to get stuck together forever. And that goes for all of them. That is the front page. And this gets glued right onto the back, and it fits perfectly. So we just make sure that it is centered when we put it on before it dries. And there are lines. There's a frame, there's a brown frame that I use to help me line up this page perfectly. And so as long as it's inside the brown line, outline, it is exactly where it goes. And that is how that looks when it's closed. Okay, so I guess we can do these folders, and it's just a matter of putting these folders into this little file area. So here's one of the pages that I left two side by side so that they can be folded, and there's some little texture on the inside, dots. They're both dots. These are like tiny little green hash marks. They're crosses. And it can just go right in there. There's one. This one's got butterflies and more lines and a design. And here's another one with some fruit. That one's got a little, what is that? It's an invitation of some sort, or an announcement, something. Okay, and it folds in, and then it kind of backs in on itself. And then it will double over. There's the outside. And what I'd like to do now is the closure, and I did something unconventional here. So I used a piece of acrylic, not acrylic, acetate, that is the same width as this flap that will fold over and become this closure. And I did it to reinforce this eyelet so that it didn't tear the paper when I wrapped the wax thread around the outside to close it. So I basically just put a strip of double-sided tape on the acrylic. Burnish it on there to make sure it's going to stay there. And I want it towards this edge. And so what I'm going to do is put an eyelet here. In the middle. So it goes through the acetate as well. Then this is waxed thread from a bookbinding kit. That goes in first, then the eyelet, maybe. And then secure the eyelet with your tool. And then I will just glue these flaps down to cover what we got going on in here. Okay, let's see if that will work. Okay, so when I went to edit my video, I found out that half of the last portion of finishing up things didn't come out right. It was just black. It was, I don't know, corrupt files or something, so I'm going to finish up here. And there was just a little bit left to do, and what I'll do first is attach this little label on the front. I'd like it to be centered in this area when the folio is closed, so I'll keep it closed to do this part. Okay, and I have another label that I would like to put here. And some tiny ephemera goes in these folders. So we'll put those pieces in. And 3 more pieces. Fit right in there. And that does it. That does it for our tiny journal folio with files and ephemera. Oops, one more. And I will have these available in my Etsy shop. And I'll put a link below. Thanks for watching.